to focus. Make your day so steady that your brain doesn't have to guess. Give your mind peace. Give your goals structure. Give your habits a home. That's how you move through life with power. Not rushed, not reactive, not overwhelmed, but clear, composed, and always in motion. When you train your brain to follow patterns, you stop being a slave to pressure. You start living by design, not reaction. And that's how everything starts to change. Quietly, deeply, permanently. Number 4. Break big ideas into things you can repeat. Most people get excited by big ideas. They imagine their dream life, their ideal body, their future success, and they feel inspired for a moment. They see the end result in their head, but they never break it down into something they can actually do. So the idea stays a fantasy. It never becomes real, because it never becomes small enough to start. That's the problem. Not the lack of vision, but the lack of breakdown. When something feels too big, it paralyzes the mind. You start thinking about all the steps at once. You imagine the 100 things that have to happen before you get there. And suddenly your brain says, it's too much. So you stop before you even start. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't want it, but because you never turned that big idea into small actions you could repeat. The most powerful change doesn't come from one big move. It comes from something you do over and over. If you look at anyone who's mastered anything, fitness, business, communication, leadership, they didn't wake up one day with it all figured out. They found a small piece of the puzzle and repeated it until it became part of who they were. If you want to write a book, the idea of writing 50,000 words might feel overwhelming, but writing 500 words a day is simple. If you want to lose 30 pounds, focusing on the whole number makes it feel distant. But walking 30 minutes a day and choosing one clean meal is something you can do today. Repeating small moves is how big ideas become reality. Your brain works better when it knows where to begin. It doesn't need a full plan for the next year. It needs a starting point you can return to every day. That's what repetition gives you. Stability, direction, a path that doesn't disappear just because life gets messy. You have to stop making your goals about size and start making them about consistency. A big goal sounds good when you talk about it, but a repeated action is what brings it to life. It's easy to say, I want to start a business, but that doesn't mean anything until you break it down into what you'll do today, tomorrow, and next week. A website doesn't build itself. A product doesn't create itself. You have to carve out steps that fit into your daily structure. When you repeat something small, you're teaching your brain that this is what matters now. You stop fantasizing about the future and start acting in the present. You don't need to get everything done at once. You just need to keep doing the next piece again and again. Most people are stuck not because they lack ideas, but because their ideas are too big to act on. And they're afraid to shrink them down because they think small steps aren't impressive enough. But here's the truth. Small steps are what make everything possible. The people who succeed don't do everything. They do the right things over and over. And that's what moves them forward. You can't build something great from random, scattered effort. You need rhythm, you need simplicity, and you need actions you can repeat without talking yourself out of them. That's how real progress feels. It's not loud, it's steady. Don't aim to finish everything in a week. Aim to do something every day that moves you forward. No matter how small it looks, those small pieces start to add up. One brick a day builds the wall. One rep a day strengthens the muscle. One conversation a day builds the network. One skill a day sharpens your value. That's how it works. That's what creates results that last. A big idea should never stay big in your head. It should be broken down until it fits inside your day. Because if it doesn't fit into your day, it will never fit into your life. That's the standard. If the action isn't repeatable, it won't survive long term. And if it's not simple, your brain will find a way to skip it. Break your goals into actions that don't rely on emotion. Don't build your plan around energy or inspiration. Build it around behavior you can do even on tired days. That's what makes it sustainable. That's how you make sure you don't stop halfway. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Again and again. The power is in the rhythm. It's in showing up every day and hitting the mark, even when the results haven't shown up yet. Because you trust the system, you trust the process, and more importantly, you trust yourself to keep showing up. If something feels too hard to repeat, Simplify. Don't try to do the hardest version of a task every time. Do the version you can stick with. Start with 5 minutes if you need to, then grow it slowly. Make it strong before you make it big. That's the difference between people who burn out and people who break through. Break everything down. The habit, the schedule, the process. Make it so simple you can't miss it. Make it so clear that your brain doesn't need to think twice. That's how you remove the gap between knowing what you want and doing what it takes. Stop waiting to feel ready. Break it down and begin. Because once you do, you'll feel momentum. And momentum is worth more than motivation. It builds belief. It builds identity. It proves to you that you can do it again tomorrow. And if tomorrow gets hard, you won't have to figure out what to do. You'll already know, because the path is there. Number 5. Build structure that holds you up when you crash. There will be days when you don't feel like doing anything. Days when your mind is heavy. Your body is drained and everything feels harder than it should. Maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe you're just tired of trying. It happens to all of us. And if you don't have something solid to lean on, you fall. You lose your rhythm. You lose your momentum. And before you know it, a bad day turns into a bad week. A bad week becomes a bad month. And suddenly you're back where you started. That's why you need structure. Not for the days when everything is going well, but for the days when you crash. Structure is what keeps you standing when your emotions try to knock you down. It gives you something to return to when your motivation is gone. It's the safety net that keeps your progress from breaking apart. Without structure, you have to rely on how you feel. And feelings are unpredictable. One small setback can throw everything off. But structure doesn't bend when your mood does. It holds its place. Stays strong so you don't have to figure things out from scratch every time you fall. When you build a structure around your life, you're not controlling everything. You're protecting your future. You're saying, even if today goes wrong, I still have a base. I still have actions I can take that don't require me to feel amazing. And that's powerful, because most people quit not because they can't do it, but because they didn't plan for the hard moments. They only built routines for the good times. So when pressure hits, when emotions shift, they collapse. The structure you build should be simple. It should be something you understand, something you can return to without overthinking. That might look like waking up at the same time every day, no matter how you feel, or having a short checklist that you follow regardless of how motivated you are. It could mean planning your meals ahead of time so you don't make bad choices when you're exhausted, or keeping your workspace clean and organized so you don't start your day surrounded by stress. These small things, when repeated, give your mind less to fight through. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to make decisions in the middle of chaos. You wake up late, you don't know what to do first. You start rushing, skipping steps, reacting to everything. That's what happens when there's no structure. But if you already know your first 3 actions of the day, you don't waste time thinking. You just move. You just begin. And sometimes that's all it takes to turn the day around. This isn't about being strict or robotics. It's about building support systems for your weaker moments, because we all have them. Nobody's consistent every single day. But when you have structure, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to stick to the basics. The structure keeps your habits in place. It reminds you who you are when you forget. And it keeps you from slipping too far off track when life gets hard. Structure creates freedom. Not the kind of freedom where you do whatever you want. The kind where your time is used with intention. Where you're not pulled in 100 directions. Where you're not wasting your days trying to get back on track. Because you never let yourself drift that far in the first place. That kind of freedom is built on daily structure. And it's one of the most valuable things you can give yourself. You don't have to structure every second of your day. That's not realistic. But you do need to lock in a few key routines that stay the same no matter what. A morning routine that anchors you. A work structure that keeps you productive. An evening routine that shuts down the day with peace. These aren't complicated. They're repeatable. They're dependable. And that's what makes them work. People often say, I'll get back to my routine when things calm down. But that's backward. You keep your routine so things don't fall apart when life gets loud. It's not about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about preparing for the messy ones, the tired ones, the days when your thoughts are all over the place. That's when your structure saves you. It might sound simple, but it's not easy, because structure requires discipline. It asks you to do things even when you're not in the mood. It asks you to respect your plan even when nobody's watching. But that's what makes it work. That's what makes it strong. And once you've lived with real structure, you don't want to go back to chaos. You don't want to keep rebuilding your mindset every time life throws a punch. You want something you can lean on, something that won't break when you do. That's the beauty of it. Structure doesn't need to feel exciting. It just needs to hold. You don't need to be at your best for structure to help you. You just need to return to. You just need to let it carry you until you feel strong again. Because you will feel strong again. You will bounce back. But until then, let the structure keep you moving. The more you follow your structure, the more natural it becomes. It starts to feel like part of who you are. You don't have to remind yourself anymore. It's just how you operate. And that's when your life starts to change. Not because everything's perfect, but because you finally have something that keeps you steady through the imperfect. Don't wait for rock bottom to build a foundation. Build it now, while you have the energy, while you can think clearly. Create something solid that future you can lean on. Not every day will be smooth. Not every plan will go right. But if you've built the structure, you won't fall far. You'll know how to reset. You'll know how to come back. That's what real strength looks like. Not never crashing, but never staying down. And what helps you stand back up isn't willpower. It's structure. It's what you designed for moments exactly like this. You need something stronger than your excuse. You need something that doesn't change when your motivation disappears. That's what a strong structure gives you. It becomes your fallback, your baseline, your reminder that even on your worst days, you still have something to hold on to. So take the time, build it now, build it around the things that matter most to you. Make it simple, make it solid, make it so real that when things fall apart, you don't. Because you won't always be at your best, but you can always come back to your structure. And that's what keeps you moving. That's what keeps you from breaking. That's what builds the kind of life that doesn't depend on luck, or timing, or emotions. Just quiet discipline, just clear design, just strong structure, holding you up when nothing else does. Number 6, replace wishful thinking with daily solid actions. Most people spend more time imagining a better life than building one. They talk about their dreams. They think about what they want. They hope things will change. But hope doesn't make things happen. Action does. And until you replace wishful thinking with solid daily actions, nothing around you will change. It doesn't matter how big your goals are or how badly you want something. If your days don't reflect your desires, your life won't either. Wishing feels good. It gives you a quick hit of excitement. You picture the end result. You imagine the success. You see yourself in a new position, in better shape, living with more freedom. But then the feeling fades, and you're left with the same routines, the same habits, the same distractions, and that's the trap. The more you fantasize, the more satisfied you feel temporarily, without doing anything real to move closer. That's why people can go years wishing for change, but never experiencing it. The people who make real progress don't spend their days dreaming. They spend their days doing. They don't wait for the right time. They don't wait for everything to feel perfect. They just start. They focus on the small actions they can control. They look at each day and ask, what can I do today that brings me one step closer? Then they do that, whether they feel like it or not. Wishful thinking is easy. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't demand consistency, but action does. Action asks you to show up, to follow through, to make decisions, to sacrifice comfort. And that's why so many people avoid it. Because it's not always pleasant. But the discomfort of action is what creates results. It's what builds skill, character, and progress. You have to stop hoping for change and start creating it. That means setting up daily actions that are real, trackable, and consistent. You don't need a massive plan. You don't need to know every detail. You just need to move. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, you're just standing still, staring at the other side. The truth is, nothing about your situation will shift if your behavior stays the same. You can't keep living the same day and expect a different result. The change starts when your habits change. Not once, but every day. Not when you feel inspired, but when you decide it mattered enough to be done regularly. Think about the things you've been wishing for. Maybe it's a healthier body. Maybe it's more money. Maybe it's stronger relationships, a better mindset, or a life with more direction. Ask yourself this: what actions am I taking every single day to support this? And be honest, not what you plan to do, not what you did last month. What are you doing now, today, this week? When there's a gap between your wishes and your actions, you'll feel stuck, and that stuck feeling doesn't come from failure. It comes from inaction. Your mind knows what you want, but your behavior doesn't back it up. That creates frustration. It creates self-doubt. It creates anxiety. But the moment you align your actions with your goals, things shift. You start building confidence, not because you've arrived, but because you're moving. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need everything figured out. You just need to act. Start with something simple, something small, something that can be repeated. The goal isn't to do everything in one day. The goal is to do something meaningful every day. This is not about being busy. Being busy isn't the same as being productive. It's easy to fill your time with distractions and call it effort. But solid daily action means you're doing what matters, what pushes the needle, what brings real change. That kind of action is intentional. It's chosen. It's prioritized. A person who builds their day around action is building their future, slowly, quietly, powerfully. You won't always see the results immediately. That's why most people give up. They do the right thing for a few days, then stop when nothing seems to change. But consistency is invisible at first. Progress is quiet in the beginning. If you want real growth, you have to keep going through that quiet phase. That's where most of the battle is won. Replace every vague goal with a clear action. Don't say, I want to be healthier. Say every morning, I drink water, I walk, and I eat clean for breakfast. Don't say, I want to be rich. Say every day, I learn something about money. I track my expenses, and I avoid waste. The more specific your actions, the stronger your results. Clarity creates momentum, and clarity lives in your behavior. You don't get rewarded for thinking about the future. You get rewarded for building it. That means getting uncomfortable. That means doing the task you've been putting off. That means saying no to distractions. That means getting serious about what your time is being used for. Your future is built in your habits, not in your imagination. There's nothing wrong with dreaming, but dreaming without action becomes a lie you tell yourself, a story you keep repeating to feel better about standing still. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a life that reflects your effort, and that only comes through daily, solid action. It's easy to look at others and think they had something you didn't. More resources, more talent, more support, but most of the